If you like my videos, please like, subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment below if you have any questions. So this build involves around building around a unique chest pieces called Death's Oath that provide us with the Death's Aura. Death's Aura is a spell damage that deals chaos damage over time. So whenever we kill something, we're gonna take 450 damage of a chaos damage for 3 seconds. But this damage is reduced by our chaos resist. You see the debuff on the left screen, that's like the green dude. You don't have to worry about this degen, as our chaos stress in this build is 80, using the glorious Vanity Divine Flesh. The general playstyle of this build is by simply holding the left mouse and moving around, and on top of that we're having Withering Step on the left mouse, so that applies some wither stacks for us. Occasionally whenever you encounter a rare monster or maybe some kind of essence mob, you have to use Blight, because our single damage is not that great, as we are mainly focused on fast mapping rather than on boss killing. The build is capable of killing a T60 Guardians, but you have to take into account it's not gonna be the fastest kill, it's gonna be, I would say, quite slow. The main downside of this build, I would say, if you start running too fast, our sentinels cannot keep up with us, therefore they cannot zap like the monsters so we can get the loot. And sometimes popping your blue sentinels is a little bit tricky because we're killing everything around us, so your chaos res has to be capped at 80 or even more if you can, otherwise the dead soul, the degen, just gonna be killing you. So I'm achieving the 80% by simply socketing a glorious vanity and have a passive divine flesh. Getting your chaos res is quite easy, as we get some of the from our ascendancy and you only have to get a little bit from your gear, so it's quite easy. So here are 2 mods that you can roll on your maps that pretty much gonna like mess up your damage really bad. The first one is players have 60% reduced effect of non-curse auras from your skills. What does that mean is that our Death's Oath, the AoE from the body armor, is 60% less. So you do not want to run maps with this. Another mod is less effect of curses on the monster. That what does mean is our despair is gonna be 60% less effective, so we're just gonna lose a lot of damage. Generally, I would stay away from those 2 mods. Unfortunately, the build has a little bit of issue with the mana, because our Blight costs 21 mana and we casting is very fast. To solve that problem, we're using Eldritch Battery, but even we're using with the Eldritch Battery, that's not like a 100% perfect solution, but will help you out greatly. So those passive, the life recoup, are very important for us. Sometimes you're gonna see that I'm gonna be mapping and my life's gonna go down and then it's gonna go up, because it says that the damage from the hits can be recouped over 4 seconds. So a hit is everything that can hit us that doesn't count any dots, such as like some kind of burning grounds and then chill grounds. So those 3 nodes and those nodes over here are mandatory for the build. They help you sustain and survive most of like the mods explosions. For the bandits, we're choosing to kill them all. So for our Pantheons, with the 2 smalls, we have a choice between going Aberrant for the Burning Ground, or we go with Gruthful for like more tankiness, and the large is Lunaris. For our Ascendancy point, we go Normal, Cruel, Merciless, Eternal. The only mandatory flask for us is Quartz, because we need the phasing to pass through the mobs. The rest of the flask is very flexible and you can pick and choose whatever you want. So the passive tree is very straightforward. On the left side, we're gonna be socketing Glorious Vanity to get the Divine Flesh. This will increase our Chaos Res. Then we're gonna be using 2 large cluster jewels to get some extra sockets, as well as some generic chaos damage from the passives. So socketing another small jewel with a notable master command will give you more damage, but then you're gonna have to sacrifice either some life or you would just have to do another 2 level ups. Since on this build we're gonna be using 2 blue rings, we are socketing a hidden potential jewel that's increase our damage for wearing a blue items, and you can get some corrupted blood on it. It's not necessarily mandatory, the corrupted blood, because we are using a flask. On top of that, I'm using Forbidden Flesh and Forbidden Flame to get the Commandment of Darkness passive. This increases our damage and gives us some resistance that we're lacking a little bit. For our helmet, we're gonna be using Viridi's Veil with enchantment for the Despair Curse effect. This will just help us get more damage. On top of that, we need 2 blue rings to get the full effect of this helmet, such as we won't take any damage from the critical strike, we are hex proof, and the damage that we take is unlucky. This is a highly recommended item. I would never replace this helmet on this build. For our amulet slot, we're gonna be using Presence with Anointment for Charisma. This amulet just gives us some chaos resist, life, like increase damage over time, and makes the most important thing, it makes our Despair cost 0 mana. I would just recommend using either a life and mana catalyst on this to increase the mana on our amulet, or if you're struggling with the chaos rest, you can use the catalyst for the resistance. This will increase your chaos rest on the amulet. Your belt slot is very flexible. You're just looking for life, resistance, and if you get a hunter influence, you can get the increased chaos damage. So the Death's Oath body armor is a mandatory item as we're building around it. It is our core pieces. It cannot be replaced because we're building around the trigger level 20 death aura when we equip the body armor. Our gloves are a very basic rare, life resistance. So those gloves are self-crafted. I was just looking for fractured chaos res, and I was spamming them with the essence to get like a T0 or T1 life. I was just like spamming it until I get some 2 good resistance, and that was it. And then I used 2 new orbs to get the Withering Inflict expires slower and the chaos damage over time multiplier. For boots, you're looking for a synthesized base with implicit unwavering stats. This will give us immunity to stun. And we're taking the same approach like with the gloves. You're just taking the essence and you're spamming until you get a life, some kind of resistance, and an open prefix so we can craft the increased movement speeds and a chance to get our own slot. Our main weapon, we're gonna be using Cane of the Kulamak, and we're gonna be looking for increased chaos damage, increased cast speed, and a chaos damage over time multiplier. This will just greatly boost our damage for our Blight and for our Death's Oath. Our ring slot, we're gonna be using 2 blue rings to take the effect of our Viridi's Veil. So buy an unset ring level 100 from your trade, scour it, apply 4 catalyst, that's gonna give you 20 quality. So now you have to spam alteration until you see at least T1 life. Yeah, so this crafting session was really lucky and really fast. But more or less you're looking for about 200 or 300 alteration before you're gonna get a desired ring that you want. Here's the gem setup for our helmet. We're gonna be using Enlighten, Determination, Purity of Elements, and Malevolence. Make sure that you keep your auras inside your Viridi's Veil, as they're gonna get +2 to the gems, and your Enlighten is gonna get as well +2, so we're gonna have a level 5 Enlighten. Here's the gem setup for our boots. We're gonna be using Withering Step, Faster Attack, Leap Slam, keep it on level 1, and we're gonna be using Life Tap, keep it on level 1 as well. Here's the gem setup for our gloves. We're gonna be using Feeble, Despair, Blasphemy, Defiance Banner. So one of our rings has to be an onset ring so we can socket a Molten Shell in it. Here's the gem setup for our Death's Oath. We're gonna use Confect, Void Manipulation, Swift Affliction, Less Duration, Life Tap, efficacy. It's a very important thing. We need to force the buff from the life tap. We're doing that by simply having a life tap level 1 on our lip slam and our withering touch. As you can see, there is the buff, and that's how we're proccing the buff to get more damage on our dead sword. Here's the gym setup for our staff. We're gonna be using Blight. Blight is much better even if you can afford and buy the Blight 21 and 23 quality, because the version provides a lot of damage for us. The second lane is gonna be Control Destruction, Efficacy, and we're gonna be using Infused Channeling. The basic Infused Channeling is way better, even if we get the Anomalous version that's increase our infusion, but guarding the infusion buff takes a bit longer. So the basic Infused Channeling is way better. Then we're using Void Manipulation, Swift Affliction. A new section of the video that's gonna be called Trade, when I'm gonna be trading with people so you can see how much I'm spending for each gear pieces. So this is only a test since I didn't record all of my trades or I lost some of the clips. So how important this kind of timestamp is for you as a viewer. So do you really want to see all of my trades that I'm purchasing, all the items, gems, everything that involves this build is gonna be recorded and you're gonna see a timestamp trade? Or you're not interested in this kind of timestamp video? So please leave a comment how important this kind of timestamp is for you, or chapter, whatever they are called. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.